Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now first today, let's talk about Labour and Trident, because yesterday delegates at the Scottish Labour conference in Perth voted overwhelmingly to oppose the renewal of Britain's Trident nuclear weapons system. It means Scottish Labour is at odds with the view of its own leader, Kezia Dugdale, and with the policy of the UK Labour Party as a whole. The Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, remains opposed to nuclear weapons. Well, we can now talk to the BBC's assistant political editor, Norman Smith. It's a very confusing picture, dare I say.
You dare say. I suspect people's heads are spinning because, as you say, we have a different policy north of the border to south of the border. We have a different stance taken by the leader north of the border to south of the border. The Unite Union, their Scottish section of Unite, wants to get rid of Trident. The national position is only to get rid of Trident if there are other jobs and other industries for those employed in the nuclear industry to go to. You talk to those around Mr Corbyn and they say, well, yesterday's decision by the Scottish conference is significant because it'll feed into the whole policy review Labour is undertaking, and their clear hope is that it will shift opinion in Mr Corbyn's direction. You talk to other members of the shadow cabinet and they say, doesn't matter, it's irrelevant, who cares? Policy is made by the National Party, by the National Policy Forum, so we don't have to worry about what the Scottish Party thinks. So it is hugely, hugely confusing. And I think what it tells us bluntly is that the vote on Trident, the party's stance on Trident, has almost become a sort of emblematic, symbolic vote about where Labour stands, about its heart and soul. Is it going to become a sort of unashamedly left-wing, unilateralist party, or is it going to retain a more mainstream stance? And the forces are coalescing on either side. And the truth is, we are still waiting for a resolution to this. If you talk to Labour moderates, they are pretty confident there isn't going to be any change of position. When you talk to those more sympathetic to Mr Corbyn, they believe the tide is moving in their direction.
So, as you say, it will be emblematic of the direction of the Labour Party. When will there be a settled position for Labour as a whole on the issue of whether the UK should renew the Trident submarine missile system?
Well, this is also bizarre in a way because it seems there almost certainly will not be a conclusion to Labour's policy review until after the Commons has voted on whether to replace Trident. So hypothetically, was Jeremy Corbyn to win the day and his party suddenly to decide they were not going to support the renewal of Trident, it'd be too late because the Commons would already have voted to do so, because those around Mr Fallon saying there could be a vote possibly later this year, so even in a few weeks, more likely I think in the summer of next year. But Labour's policy review and any new policy position on Trident, I'm told, would take at least 2 years. In other words, well after the Commons voted. So you end up with a bizarre situation that cometh the next election, if Mr Corbyn is still leader, if he's managed to change his party's position on Trident, it by and large could be irrelevant because the money could already have been spent on replacing Trident.
Norman Smith, thank you very much. Keir Starmer, a Labour leader in Scotland who disagrees with the Scottish Party on Trident, and a UK Labour leader who agrees with the Scottish Party but not with the majority of his shadow cabinet and Labour MPs. I mean, it's chaos.
It's a debate that's going on, and obviously we've just seen the clip explaining the different positions. I think the important thing is that the debate is happening. I mean, for a very long time, we were not discussing Trident as a party or as a country.
But that's because you've got a position on Trident.
But there's a very important vote next year, and it's important we have a debate before that vote. So there's nothing wrong with this debate, there's nothing wrong with positions being taken. I think what's really important is that those that are in favour of Trident make their case, and those that are against it equally make their case, so we have an informed debate. But we shouldn't shy away from the debate. It's actually good that we're having it.
Right. Where do you stand?
I've always said that I will take a decision when the vote is called, probably next year, on the basis of the evidence that's then available. And what I think is really important here is this should not be treated as party political or point scoring. This is about half of a decade, 50 years worth of defence for this country. It's a really serious, in-principle decision to be taken on the available evidence at the time.
Right. You say it shouldn't be party political, but your party is split. Your own party is divided. You accept that?
It's a really important principle. Yeah. Different people in the Labour Party take different views. We should respect that. We need to come to a settled view.
Yes.
But we should do it on the basis of the available evidence. And the vote will come next year, and that's the important time.
Right. Should Jeremy Corbyn be bound by the current party policy or the view of the parliamentary party on this issue?
I think once the party has a view, we should all hold to the party view. Now, Jeremy's got a clear view on this. He's always had a clear view on it. He's entitled to make that case.
At odds with a lot of the shadow cabinet.
We're having the debate, and that's a debate that it's necessary to have. We can't say before we have the debate, well, you can't hold a particular position. But we should try to get a consensus on it and then hold to that consensus. But bearing in mind, this is a really important national decision about 50 years' worth of defence.
Right. What about the indications from Jeremy Corbyn's aides who are saying that he will use the Scottish vote, despite many in the parliamentary party and shadow cabinet saying it's an irrelevance? He will use that to attempt to change party policy.
Well, I think anybody who is making the argument against Trident is bound to point to the vote in Scotland. And those that take a different view would do the same if the decision had gone the other way. So I think what we can't do is go into this artificially and say, well, we need a debate, but we can't put our points forward or say this is the support in a particular part of the United Kingdom. Of course, Jeremy and others are entitled to point to what's happened in Scotland in favour of their case, but equally, the other case has to be heard, and we need that debate.
Right, but Kezia Dugdale has already said she wants a more independent Scottish Labour Party. Do you see trouble down the line if the party really splits on issues like this?
I think it's inevitable as we devolve more and more issues that you will get different versions, different approaches in different countries and different parts of the party. I don't think there's anything. We've got to be careful that we think there's something wrong in different people taking different views.
So would you be happy with the two parties taking different views on something like Trident? Could that work?
In the end, we need an agreed national position. But as we go from where we are now to that position, it is perfectly right for different people to express their views.
Right, but if the Scottish Labour Party stays with its position against Trident and the UK party as a whole votes to keep it, then they will have to abide, in your view, to what the UK National Party is saying?
Yes, I think there has to be one position that everybody abides by.
What about the timing? Because we heard there from Norman Smith, if it's not going to happen for 2 years, it's going to be after all the votes.
Well, there's clearly a difficulty with the timing. We don't know when the vote's going to be, but we do.
It's not going to be in 2 years' time.
No, I agree with that. One way or the other, we do need to try and resolve this before the vote, if it's possible to do so.
Right. It doesn't look as if that's going to happen.
It looks like it's going to be difficult to do that within the timeframe. I accept that. But if it's possible to resolve it before the vote, that is the best possible outcome.
Yeah, it is. But if it isn't, then it will be the current Labour Party policy. And would you expect Jeremy Corbyn to stick by that and encourage MPs to vote on current Labour Party policy?
On an issue as important as this, I'd expect all MPs to vote with the party policy.
As it stands, before any decision or settled position is actually gone through by Labour?
Unless and until it's changed, people should vote for the current policy.
Is it refreshing to see a debate like this going on Trident?
You know, Keir's doing very well, but frankly, the position is indefensible. The question remains, what is the Labour Party's position on this issue of national security of vital significance? It's never been more important that we have a nuclear deterrent. And we see in Scotland a leader who is at odds with the party, and in England, again, a leader who is not supported by the party. Most of the front bench support renewal, the Labour manifesto supported renewal. And I think it's very sad that on an issue as important as this, party politics has ruined the debate, actually. Labour politicians of the past, Attlee and Bevin, argued vociferously in favour of nuclear armament, and now it's becoming reduced to party politics.
Right. But because there's debate going on, I don't think it reduces it. You'd expect a party to have a debate. So, I mean, I'm not being overly defensive, but there's nothing wrong with a political party having a debate. It's obviously a big issue for the party, and we've got to try and resolve it.
But how does it make the Labour Party look to the public at large on such a critical issue if it takes 2 years to make a decision, otherwise it's going to fall back on its settled position?
I'll just step back from that a moment. There's a big decision to be taken. I think the fact that a major political party is discussing what the right approach is a very good thing, and we shouldn't suggest that there's anything wrong with that.
Leave it there.
I've been getting we were